Behind me is called the Gateway of the Gods, and it was built several thousand years before the Inca arrived here. It was built by a culture we call the Ollantaytambo. We give them that name because we have no idea who they were, where they came from, or where they went.
Ollantaytambo has a secret that nobody talks about. For decades, researchers focused on the wrong thing. They measured the massive stones. They calculated the weight, 50 tons, some over 100. They mapped the quarry 5 kilometers away, across a river, up a mountain. And they asked the same question everyone asks. How did the Incas move blocks this heavy, without wheels, without iron, without draft animals? But here's the catch. That's not the mystery. The real mystery is why these walls have survived 500 years of earthquakes while modern buildings keep collapsing around them. And the answer? It's not in the stones you can see. It's buried underneath them.
This is a separate rock from this rock, and yet they fit perfectly together. You couldn't fit even a razor blade between these two stones. And this was shaped with stone tools.
Civil engineer Kenneth Wright spent decades studying Inca construction. When his team finally excavated beneath these sites, the data came back and everything changed. 60% of Inca construction effort went into work that's completely invisible. Hidden foundations, underground drainage.
9,000 feet above sea level, in an area the Inca people once called the Sacred Valley, lie the ruins of the ancient city of Ollantaytambo.
A layered system, so advanced that engineers today still struggle to explain how a civilization without written language figured it out. They weren't just stacking stones, they were engineering survival machines. And once you understand the trick they buried under Ollantaytambo, you'll realize we've been asking the wrong questions about ancient engineering for over a century. This is what they found. The undeniable facts. Ollantaytambo sits at 2,792 meters in Peru's Sacred Valley. It was built as a royal estate for Emperor Pachacuti in the mid-15th century, the same ruler who transformed the Inca from a regional tribe into a continental empire. And get this, in 1537, this fortress became the site of one of the only Inca military victories against the Spanish conquistadors. Manco Inca Yupanqui flooded the valley floor, turned it into a bog, and drove back Spanish cavalry. The terrain itself became a weapon. The famous Temple of the Sun sits at the top, featuring the wall of the 6 monoliths. Each pink granite slab stands over 12 feet tall. Each one weighs between 50 and 100 tons. The stones came from the Cachicata quarry on a completely different mountain across the Urubamba River, nearly 5 kilometers away. The Incas built roads, ramps, and slides to move them.
And of course the biggest mystery is how the hell were they not only able to cut these things, but to move them up this mountain.
In modern day, if we were going to move a 50-ton boulder, we would have to assemble a special transportation unit consisting of steel girders, several axles, a hydraulic jack.
Archaeologists have found wooden rollers still sitting beneath abandoned megaliths that never made it to the site. No iron tools, no steel, no wheel, no horses or oxen. These are facts. They're documented, they're not disputed. But here's the deal. Those facts were just the surface. What engineers found underground would change everything. Why the walls haven't failed. The Andes sit on the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Nazca Plate is constantly pushing under the South American plate. Since the 16th century, Peru has recorded more than 70 major earthquakes. That's one every 6 years, on average. Add steep terrain, seasonal flooding, extreme rainfall that saturates everything. So here's the question that haunted researchers for decades. Why haven't the Inca walls collapsed? Because here's what happened to everyone else's buildings. In 1650, a catastrophic earthquake struck Cusco, about 70 kilometers away. Nearly every European-style colonial building in the city was destroyed. Churches, mansions, government buildings, rubble. But the Inca foundations beneath those buildings, untouched. Spanish chronicler Gil González Dávila witnessed it firsthand. He wrote, "Cusco, how can he who saw you yesterday, and who sees you today, not be moved to tears?"
It's an unusual sight, with the convent of Santo Domingo built on top of Inca stonemasonry, but inside, entire walls and rooms remain intact. These chambers were revealed when an earthquake damaged the convent in 1953, but left the Inca walls unharmed.
And get this. The Church of Santo Domingo was built directly on top of the sacred Inca temple called the quarry. When the earthquake hit, the church collapsed completely. The curved Inca wall beneath it, not a single crack. They rebuilt the church on the same foundation. Then, in 1950, another earthquake of similar intensity struck Cusco. More than half the buildings in the city collapsed. The church fell again. And the Inca wall still standing. It had survived 2 catastrophic earthquakes across 300 years, while the structures built on top of it failed twice. That's not luck. That's not coincidence. The earthquake's survival was shocking enough. But when researchers finally dug beneath those walls, what they discovered was even more disturbing. The engineering trick. This is the trick the title promised. And it's terrifying. When Kenneth Wright's team excavated beneath Inca sites, they uncovered a multi-layered foundation system that nobody expected. This is why Ollantaytambo still stands. Here's what they found, layer by layer. First, wherever possible, the Incas anchored construction directly to natural bedrock. They excavated deep into mountains to reach stable rock formations. They weren't building on the ground. They were fusing their structures to the mountain itself. Above that, they placed massive foundation stones to support the visible walls. Beneath and around those blocks, smaller interlocking stones packed together. Under that, gravel and crushed rock. But here's the catch. This wasn't waste material. It was deliberately repurposed from the construction process as drainage infrastructure. At the very bottom, compacted sand and soil created a porous, stable base. Basically, they built a shock absorption system 500 years before modern engineers had a name for it. The layered foundation does 2 things simultaneously. First, drainage. Water doesn't pool beneath the walls. It filters down through the gravel and channels away through carefully designed outlets. At Machu Picchu alone, engineers documented over 130 drainage holes built into the original construction, not added later, built in from day one. Second, and this is the terrifying part, shock absorption.
Slabs of red granite have stood here for thousands of years because of the beautiful engineering of the ancients. If there's a major earthquake, these shims can ride up and down, absorbing the shock of the earthquake.
When an earthquake hits, the energy doesn't transfer rigidly into the stone walls. It dissipates through the layers, the gravel shifts, the smaller stones adjust. The system absorbs the impact before it can destroy the structure. Wright called it the 60% of the building effort that lies underground. The Incas figured out seismic-resistant design half a millennium before we even invented the term. The foundation system was genius, but the stones above ground had their own secret. The dancing stones. Those massive walls at Ollantaytambo look rigid. They look permanent. They look like they're locked in place forever. They're not. Modern engineers have documented something they call the dancing stones phenomenon, and it proves the Incas understood physics we're only now beginning to appreciate. During earthquakes, the precisely fitted stone blocks don't resist the seismic forces. They move with them. The stones shift. They jostle against each other, and when the shaking stops, they settle back into their original positions. It is not that simple, though. This only works because of how the walls were built. The Incas used no mortar. The stones fit so precisely you can't slide a knife blade between them, but they're not cemented together. They're held by gravity and by the interlocking geometry of their shapes. And get this, many Inca walls lean slightly inward, between 3 and 5 degrees. That's not sloppy construction. It lowers the center of gravity and creates compression forces that actually hold the structure together during lateral movement. The doors and windows, trapezoidal, wider at the base than at the top. That distributes stress more effectively and prevents the vertical fractures that collapse rectangular openings during earthquakes. Colonial builders didn't understand any of this. They built tall, they built rigid, they used heavy mortar that cracked under stress. Their buildings fell down. The Inca built walls that dance with earthquakes, and those walls are still standing. If you want to keep uncovering the engineering secrets the ancient world buried, hit that subscribe button now. The hidden water system. But here's the deal. The foundation and the dancing stones, that's only half the story. Ollantaytambo isn't just a fortress, it's a hydraulic masterpiece. The Incas built an extensive network of canals, fountains, and drainage channels throughout the entire complex. The Inca Misana water temple features 16 ceremonial fountains, all fed by a mountain spring through a precisely engineered canal system. These channels weren't decorative, they were essential to survival. Under the plazas and terraces, the Incas constructed stone-lined drainage channels and sloped foundations that redirect water away from structural elements. During heavy rains, the system captures runoff and moves it downhill before it can saturate the soil or undermine the foundations. So here is the deal. Water destroys buildings. It erodes foundations. It freezes in cracks and expands. It loosens soil and causes settling. The Incas knew this, and they designed for water from the very beginning.
The stone city of Machu Picchu is one of the most fascinating archaeological sites on the planet. Located northwest of Cusco, Peru, Machu Picchu is a testament to the power and ingenuity of the Inca people.
Machu Picchu, Wright's excavations proved that the entire city was planned around its water source. The emperor's residence, the terraces, even the temples, all positioned based on where water would flow. The same principles applied at Ollantaytambo. Every terrace wall, every plaza, every structure, integrated into a comprehensive water management system. That's why erosion hasn't undermined the site in 500 years. But here's where it gets strange. The wild theory. Some researchers have started asking uncomfortable questions. After a major earthquake around 1450 damaged structures at Machu Picchu, during its construction, the Incas fundamentally changed their building techniques. They moved away from smaller stones and cellular patterns and developed the advanced trapezoidal, interlocking designs we see at Ollantaytambo. Carlos Benavente Escobar, coordinator of the Cusco Pata Research Project, says the Incas knew how to coexist with diverse geologic dangers like earthquakes, landslides, and avalanches. That's putting it lightly. But here's the question nobody wants to ask out loud. How did they figure this out so fast? The precision of Inca engineering suggests something more than trial and error. The layered foundations, the dancing stones, the hydraulic integration, all of it working together as a unified system. Some researchers speculate the Incas were drawing on knowledge far older than their empire. Ollantaytambo shows evidence of pre-Inca construction. The region was occupied for thousands of years before Pachacuti arrived. Did the Incas inherit engineering secrets from earlier civilizations? Did they preserve knowledge that has since been lost? The evidence is undeniable. They solved problems we're still struggling with today. The uncomfortable comparison. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Modern construction in the Andes often ignores every lesson the Incas learned centuries ago. Rigid concrete, vertical walls, buildings designed without consideration for seismic activity or water drainage. When earthquakes strike, these structures fail catastrophically. In the 1950 Cusco earthquake, modern buildings collapsed alongside colonial ones. The casualties were devastating. Meanwhile, Inca walls that had been standing since the 15th century survived again. No mortar, no metal, no machinery. And their infrastructure still works. Water still flows through Inca channels at Ollantaytambo. The drainage systems still function. The walls still stand. 500 years. Zero maintenance. Still operational. Basically, we're building structures that collapse while ancient walls built with stone tools keep surviving. So, here's the question that should keep engineers up at night. If the Incas solved earthquake-resistant construction 500 years ago, without computers, without steel, without any of our modern tools, why are modern buildings still collapsing while their walls still stand? The engineering trick. Under the stones wasn't about strength. It was about understanding. 60% of their work was invisible. Layered foundations that absorb earthquakes, drainage channels that protect against erosion, geometric precision that distributes stress across every stone. The wall of the 6 monoliths is impressive. 50-ton stones dragged across a river without wheels will always capture attention. But the real mystery of Ollantaytambo was never how they moved those blocks. It was what they buried beneath them. Did we lose something the Incas knew, or did we never bother to learn it in the first place? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you want more ancient engineering secrets exposed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're just getting started.